Whoa, 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 who taught you how to clean games? On this episode of Rampage Reseller, we're going to teach you the unofficial, correct way to clean your vintage Nintendo games. Tonight we're going to go over, we're cleaning up some games. So what we're going to do is show you guys the way that I was shown to do it, the way that I've done this for years, and what to look for while you're inside. Don't do this every time your game doesn't work. This is like when you pick some up at a yard sale and they look really bad, like when the board actually looks really dingy, then I would take them apart and do this. Otherwise, like a 50-50 mix of rubbing alcohol and water and dip 2 Q-tips in it. You'll put one on each side of that board, and then I twist them so that they get tight on that board, and then you rub them off. Don't blow on them, that's bad for them too. So we're going to take this Mario Kart 64. It does have some writing. I tried to find something that looked somewhat bad. This one's not that bad, so we'll take one that has some writing on it. We're going to make this thing look good again. Get you a Nintendo cartridge bit set or a video game bit set off eBay. I prefer getting it off eBay than Amazon. Help some other small time seller out rather than Amazon. Okay, your outer ones are going to have that specialty Nintendo bit for these 64 cartridges. You're going to take it apart from the top, separate it, it slides right off. It's got 2 tabs. Don't go the other way, you will break it. Hopefully I don't run through this too quick, but you can always go back through the video and check it out and pause it. This is just a little Phillips bit set. It came with a bunch of different size bits and they just slide out. I got this on eBay for I think like $8 or so. It's pretty cheap. There's a ton of different styles and colors if the color matters to you. I just needed something with a rubber handle I could grab onto. So take those 2 out, pull this off, and you'll see this one here versus the one we already took apart and cleaned. It's the same, so don't get freaked out because this chip is smaller, that chip is bigger, this metal housing is taller than the other one. It's fine. They only go in one way, so don't freak out about it. You're good. Okay, so we got the top off. We got the top shield off. Just grab it by the black piece and pick it straight up. You don't have to take the other side out. It's already off, but as you can see, it's clean under there, so there's usually no reason. This here only goes one direction. You're going to fight it for a long time if you don't pay attention. When you take it apart, put the face of the cartridge down on the table so that the chips are on top of the board, and then pick it all out. This slides off. There's 2 little tabs. There's one here and one here. This plastic piece sets right in between them. Now you can do like that and accidentally get it off to the side, but you're going to want that thing to set right in between, and then it'll drop back in. If this is flipped over, it's not going to fit. So we'll keep that the same direction, and I'll be the first to admit, I never do this. I just take them apart and then fight putting it back together. With that, it is apart. Just remember which side you took it out. The chips go up away from the face of the cartridge. And as far as cleaning this, now that it's apart, and the green rag, my wife's helping me here. She's doing the camera holding because I was doing shipping videos and I screwed my GoPro mount to my shipping station. So shake up the brasso. Let's see, just a little bit. It doesn't take much. Don't get it on your clothes and stuff. I'm sure it's not good for it. Okay, just pat it together. Grab that chip and only clean up the brass on the end, the brass contacts. You should, I hope, in the video be able to tell the difference. You can see the crud on the rag, all the corrosion. Okay, it's all cleaned up. Make sure on the back, don't put anything else. I've never used anything else, but just wipe it off with a dry spot on the same rag. There you go. It's all cleaned up, and you can hopefully see that reflection. Now it's nice and clean on both sides. If you ever got any that you try to clean up with the Q-tip rubbing alcohol, it doesn't work, this works great. Okay, we know it goes back in this way. Our piece is sitting here, but since I've already got it out, I got my other cleaning rag for Windex. We're gonna go ahead and just, we're there, might as well. Every one of the games that I sell on eBay or to friends or whatever, I always take them apart and clean them all the way. Even if it doesn't need the brasso, I'll take it apart and wipe the contacts off really nicely. And see, I've probably already forgot which way this goes, but I think it was this way. Lock it into that spot. It just sits on there. Okay. Now we're going to clean up all that garbage on the outside. I've already put a little bit of Windex. Doesn't matter what brand. This is LA Totally Awesome from Dollar General or Family Dollar. And I've never used any except for the real Mr. Cleans. You can try to use the generic ones. These are what I've used. They've always worked great. Do not get it on the label, because it will tear that label up. It does not take much. You can see, oh, wrong one. I'm done with that. Almost got it off there. Let me get a little right on the edge. It was drying out. Look at that. Clean that right off there. Nice and clean. Hit up that L on the other side. I can tell you from experience, because I've used rubbing alcohol with the magic eraser and all kinds of stuff. You're probably supposed to use water. I have always used Windex. I cleaned up a really old like Chinese tin toy with this stuff once, and I didn't know I used the magic eraser with just water and wiped it, and it didn't have any clear coat on the paint, and it actually, I didn't even have to scrub. It wiped the paint right off of it. So be careful on things that are painted, because it will dull the finish. But for these cartridges, it works great. Get it cleaned up. Let's see, looking good. And if you can avoid at all costs, don't put it on the label. The Windex on the label, that's fine. But let's see. And I'm pretty picky. This one's clean around the edge, where all the gunk from people with we call them roast beef hands, the sweaty, dirty hands grabbing the games out. All that stuff sits in there, and we used to call that the roast beef. I don't know why. We just thought it was funny. But that'll take all that out too. So there's half. We're going to set this back in. If I did this right, there it is. All setting in good. It's flat. This piece here, slide it over the back first. It should set back in place. I'm going to go ahead and screw this back together, and then I'll clean the back of the cartridge. Phillips screws go on the inside. Don't just turn them to the right to tighten them. I always back them up, and you'll feel them kind of click down into place. Then turn them the other way. It's just plastic, so the threads are already pre-cut. If you just try to tighten them down in there, you'll cross thread it. You can snap the little studs off, and then you're stuck looking for another cartridge. And at that point, I mean, you can sell it cheaper because the cartridge is just rattling inside. All right, this one we've got EL on the back. So let's see, might still have enough in there. I'll also keep the cheap sports games nobody wants. I usually keep those, and if the back of the cartridge is really bad, I just swap it out. The label is the same. So unless it's a Pokemon Stadium and it's got the gold cartridge, or a Zelda with the gold cartridge, you're pretty much safe just swapping the back housing for any other 64 game that you've got sitting around that you don't play or doesn't sell. Let's see, go around the label, a little wipe on it, get that EL off the top. Let's see. Okay. Just go back over it, wipe it down. Get all the Windex will sit in these little holes, the little bubbles will get in there, just kind of clean them out. A little bit of an E left on there. Let's see. Okay, there's that. Put it on from the bottom first. You got those two tabs, and they'll snap. I mean, they put them on here. Super Nintendo 64 games, I know, have them, and that's it. It just sets on. It should just fall into place. Same thing. Turn these screws backwards until you feel them click into place, and then go forward. So turn them out or off. It clicks. Go the other direction. Anytime you're working with plastic and screws that have already had a screw in the hole, you might hear it. Let's see. There it was. Drops into place. And that's it. Go put it in your system. Enjoy. It's all cleaned up. No more writing. Labels are good. Contacts are nice and shiny. There should be no issues with this. Throw it in the system, test it, and get it out to the new person that's going to own it and enjoy it, or let their kids play it. And that is how you check the carts and get them cleaned up. One other thing I wanted to go over, and I forgot because I got into cleaning mode. Some of these cartridges, the chips are made different on them, but the 64 ones I haven't seen so much, but Nintendo and Super Nintendo, people are making custom cartridges or knockoffs. And one thing to look for is not on this side, but on the back side of the chip, where all of these little solder points are. If you notice, these are all pretty much identical. They're perfect. Now, that was done by a machine back in the day. If you get one of these and some of these little spots, tiny spots of solder, there's big blobs of it, or they don't look like this, then like 99.9% of the time, somebody has desoldered the chip, and then they have put their own custom chip in and resoldered it into place. And I've seen this a lot with Nintendo games, where they make reproduction cartridges of something else, and they use a cheap example, sports game or whatever. They pop that chip out, they burn a new chip, they solder it back in, and then some people are dishonest and they will send those out with a nice label on the cartridge, peel the old one, throw a new one on, it looks legit, and try to pass it off. Hopefully you found this video entertaining or educational, and hopefully it'll help you get a better clean on your video games the next time that you find them not working after you've picked them up from a yard sale. And don't worry, no video games were harmed in the making of this clip. Super excited. Also like to give a couple shout outs. We had our first sale on RampageReseller.com. Actual friend that I used to work with, he bought his wife a Rampage Reseller t-shirt. Super stoked. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the support. Also like to give a shout out to Brandon. Brandon bought an auction lot of 58 CD disc-only games from me. Then right afterwards followed up with 2 offers on a couple other games I had. And since then has also bought another lot of 94 games in different conditions, some a little scratched, some in great shape with and without manuals. He's working on building an awesome collection. He's followed us on Instagram, and I'm following his journey of building this awesome arcade setup that he's got. Hope you're doing good out there. I really appreciate it. Thank you.